Well, good morning, everybody. My name is Vish, Nandlall, and I actually brought some slides. I don't think it would be it wouldn't be very CTO-ish of me if I didn't have a few slides. And I can feel your terror mounting as I put this one up, because you're expecting probably a fairly technical description of all these technology trends. And I'm going to save you any further agony and just move on to the good stuff. I thought I'd do something noble this morning and talk a little bit about what I think are the core ingredients for innovation. I'm going to save you a little bit of money in terms of going to consultants like McKinsey and other people like that to get this described to you. It actually turns out to be something that is traditionally overlooked in terms of what are the core value drivers of innovation. I'm a practitioner, so earlier in my career I used to lead design teams and engineers, and we'd manifest products. And so when I hear the word innovation, I kind of frown a little bit, just simply because it's a fancy word. And in most cases, when you're designing something, you're using workmanlike language, like problem, solution, goal, experiment, prototype. Those are the kinds of words that you use. And at the end of the day, saying innovation doesn't really make it so. It doesn't manifest, products, profits, or any types of patent in your hand. These things aren't magical. It's the result of some hard work. And typically, I find if we use simple declarations about what do you mean when you talk about innovation, that if you communicate in a simple language, the odds are you're going to achieve it. I usually think that there's about 5 things that people mean when they say innovation. They want something new. They want something new and good, a little bit harder. They want something new, good, and profitable. That's really hard. And or they want to do things faster, more aggressively, or they simply want to be perceived as being an innovative company. And I think if you use those simple terms, if you speak with clarity, that you're probably going to be able to get that, if that's what you're really looking for. And so I do think that these simple cultural truths are the things that we need to start to focus in on when we talk about how do I build an innovative company. And I think there's 3 things really that are at the core of it. And the first is trust. You've got to be able to trust one another. I think that by and large, most teams don't trust one another. That's probably a controversial statement. And I think it's one of these things that is almost inherent in human nature. I think that you are very unlikely to share those dangerous, brilliant, and potentially earth-shattering, mind-bending ideas with your peers, and it's because you don't necessarily trust them. But however, if you can't build a culture where people are willing to trust one another, you're not going to profit from a lot of innovation. You're not going to have the collaboration you need. Even if you deign to share those ideas, people aren't going to listen to them. So trust is the cornerstone of how I think a lot of innovation gets delivered. I think the second is around the ability to take risks. That sounds pretty straightforward, but most people are not really wired to take risks. It's a product of evolution. Evolution, if you want to survive, says that you should embrace the status quo, that you should be conservative. And I think over and above that, even if you can get over that, there's 100 unfair reasons why, even if you put your idea out there, that it won't succeed, that it'll actually start to fail. And I think it's these types of feelings that we have at the the really very root of who we are, that kind of makes us keep our best ideas to ourselves. And so I think if we can't really start to foster a culture where people are willing to take risks, I don't know of many people in power that embrace dangerous ideas with open hearts and open minds. I know that can be something that you wouldn't wish for the world that you live in. Unfortunately, it is. And so it's imperative that we take those steps to kind of really create that culture of risk-taking amongst our teams. I think the third thing is around conviction. And this is one of those things that we tend to like to fantasize a little bit about when we talk about innovation. It's that there's this major flash of insight and suddenly greatness happens. And the reality is that in every situation I've ever been in, yes, there may be a flash of insight, but it's preceded or followed by years and years of hard work. And I think, at the end of the day, it's really that ability to have conviction that's exceptionally rare. It's the reason why most of the innovations that I've seen happen in entrepreneurial or independent types of organizations. It's because they have really the fortitude to put their shoulder behind a problem, and they're willing to see it through. Conviction is not something that we all come by naturally, necessarily, because you have to be unreasonable to have conviction. And it's really that ethic of being unreasonable, of seeing the world and saying, I'm going to change the world, not myself, that I think is the thing that divides people who actually are able to manifest a reality out of innovation, someone who can put the hard work in to create it, for it to see the light of day, and to realize that ideas are cheap. Ideas are pretty easy. Don't tell my manager that. But having said that, it's really the blood, sweat, and tears of making something a reality that's really the hard part of this equation. And so it's really these three qualities of trust, risk-taking, and conviction that I find create that perfect storm of innovation. And you were expecting me to say something much more sophisticated, but I guess I'm entreating you to take these simple concepts, these very simple cultural behaviors. Don't get swayed by the consultants of the world who are going to design some really great frameworks for you. Look to these as your guideposts for how you want to change your teams and really become that innovative company that I think you really want to be. Cheers. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Vish. Thank you. One of the emerging technologies that's having terrific impact on the world is that of the drone. Now, we've all been to many conferences where the presentations we've seen give a whole new meaning to the term drone, but not the next presenter. John Medved is well known in Australia for his successful string of nearly 100 startups and 14 exits at over 100 million, and of course, as the CEO and founder of Our Crowd. Please welcome to the stage, John Medved.